Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Good Enough Chats. My name's Dan, and today I'm joined by Adam, who I will ask to introduce himself very shortly. But before I do that, for the benefit of anybody who hasn't seen one of these shows before, this conversation is completely unscripted. But Adam does know kind of the main 5 questions that the chat's going to be based around. And the reason for that is, we're talking about potentially very sensitive, challenging subject here with men's mental health. And I think it's really important that anybody that's stepping up to have one of these conversations understands what is likely to come their way by way of questions. So Adam knows exactly what questions are coming. That said, I don't know what Adam's going to say in response. So at times we may well go off on tangents, depending on how he responds to those questions. But it does mean that Adam, as with every other guest, has got the opportunity to prepare precisely as much or as little as they want to for what's about to happen. So before I ask Adam to just introduce himself, I also need to apologize. I am hanging off the tail end of a nasty chesty cough, I'm told, this week. And that's why my voice currently sounds more like Barry White's than my normal voice does. I will try to mute whenever I cough or sneeze during the course of this conversation. And on that lovely note, Adam, please, could you introduce yourself to the audience?
Thank you very much. In the being honest and genuine, I'm really sorry. My dog has just decided to start eating his breakfast and is chewing very loudly, so I just went on mute. But that's where we live in. Yeah, hi, my name is Adam Driver. Thank you very much, Dan, for the invite. We've been speaking for a number of months now. It's great to be here. So I'm coming to you from Suffolk, near Bury St Edmunds, sort of east of England. I'm going to do it the other way around, the normal. So I've got 2 kids, 6 and 4. I've got a dog, got a wife, got a road bike, and I support Brentford. But I've also got a business called Authentic Comms. So it's been going for nearly 5 years now. And yeah, I've been working in, I guess, marketing, comms, PR for my whole career. And yeah, we've been speaking a little bit over being put in touch with by a few people. And yeah, it's really good to be here to have a chat.
It's great to have you here as well. And yeah, testament to how much I wanted to speak to you is that's why I didn't cancel this despite sounding like this today. So let's jump into question number 1 straight away, Adam. What's got you to the point where you're here today talking about your lived experience of mental health?
Well, actually, yesterday was World Mental Health Day. We've had a little chat about that, how the benefits of talking about one's mental health and your colleagues and employees and friends and family's mental health. But also sometimes there can be some sort of like posturing about mental health from companies and others. And I think I've always been very of an oversharer, sort of heart on the sleeve, talk about things. And I've always sort of suffered from a level of anxiety, I think, from when I was like very young. Really kind of hit home for me I had a job which was a bit of a step up as maternity cover and put a lot of pressure on myself and sort of broke me really to a degree. Lots of like hiding away, a lot of yeah, being very young and green and not really dealing with it or being able to talk about it in a certain way. And then from then, I've always had sort of like depressive periods, I'd say. I know once every year, 2 years, could last for a little bit, could last for a long bit. But I've managed, I've coped, got through it, lived abroad, moved down to London, worked in lots of places, gone traveling, had kids, started a business, the whole thing. So it's possible to do. But most recently, I've sort of been re-diagnosed as being bipolar, which is old school manic depressive. They rebadged it, rebranded it, which is probably a good thing. And yes, I now take lithium as a drug, and I want to share when appropriate sort of my sort of experience of things, because I know that it selfishly it would have helped me when I was younger. Hearing anybody talk about it, let alone a bloke, um, but also that it kind of like destigmatizes it a bit. I think that's a general thing. I think a lot of people that have come on your podcast have expressed, and how you talk about it as well, because it's important to, and also with that sort of veil of it being World Mental Health Day, um, people take the mix sometimes, and it's not actually realistic. So, found a stat the other, I think it was maybe last year's World Mental Health Day or something, but it was something like 20 million people or 15 million people in the UK have had uh, antidepressants or other sort of like type of drugs in the last year. Maybe it was the year prior to that, but maybe we need to fact check that. But it's a phenomenal amount of people that have been to their GP and been prescribed these kind of things. And whether that's for a very, very short time, great. Whether it's for recurring, whether it's for a long term thing, I think that it's just those numbers uh, need looking at seriously. And that's not in terms of solving anything. It's just in terms of more than anything for me, that you can live with things. It's a tough time. I've had a very tough time earlier on this year, and I'm back sort of through it now. And it's kind of making more people aware of that, rather than and especially as us both being on LinkedIn a fair amount. There's a lot of that posturing, just generally in business, work, whole thing. And I get it, because I need to do it. You need to do it. It's where I get a lot of my business from. That's fine. That doesn't mean you have to be sort of lie so much. I think that can be a detrimental effect to a lot of people, seeing things and feeling like they can't start their business, or they can't talk about that topic, or they can't do something, can't be anything, can't have an opinion on something. Chatting to a guy yesterday who's a lot younger, which made me a little bit jealous talking to him. But he wanted to start his own thing in the future, and like was just asking me a few like bits of advice, and he's feeling so lacking in confidence. But he is one of the best sort of like paid digital marketing people I've dealt with in my career. But it was mainly because he didn't feel like he could talk about it on the LinkedIn platform or on whatever platform. Bit of a rambling one, but that's kind of it. Like kind of advice to younger me, bit of support for other people, but also selfishly, final one, it's really cathartic to share. Like that's what helps me. So it might not help other people, but being my oversharing self, I'm more than happy to talk about it when I'm in the right frame of mind. And even if people are, hey, do you mind we change the subject? That's cool. That's absolutely fine. But I'm more than able to talk about it, because I think that can really help a lot of things.
Yeah. And I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with you benefiting from having these kind of conversations at all. I think everybody that's been involved in one of these episodes so far has said the same, whether it's in the context of the recording or afterwards. They've said, actually, do you know what, that was a really positive experience. It could be emotional, it could be volatile at times, but just having that chance to do that, that's got to be a big driver for doing this as well. And you're quite right, this platform exists to try and eat away a little bit at a time at the stigma that men feel around this stuff.
And that's why I wanted to sort of be involved as well, because you can do it on there's so many ways you can do it. You can write a blog about it, you can talk about it in a forum, you can go and stand up in front of a group, you can do it in lots of different ways. But I quite like this because it's a bit of back and forth conversation. And I genuinely do mean this, even if it just helps one person. I don't mean that person that's like in real crisis and there's a lot going on and that kind of thing. I'm not trying to talk to that person. If it helps that person, fantastic. But I'm more kind of interested in sort of opening people's eyes a little bit, or just helping that person realize, oh, that's okay. Just that,
Yeah.
like, is I feel a good thing. And then again, yeah, it helps me sort of, yeah, feel I'm doing something positive towards it.
Yeah, yeah, you are, and I know that other people are going to find this a helpful discussion. I go into all of the conversations that we have knowing that this has the potential to help one person, but you and I have had probably more exchanges than I have with a lot of the other people that before I've sat down and done the recording with them. And I know that there is going to be a lot of tangible, useful, insightful stuff that's going to come from this discussion. No pressure. But so step back from the big picture for a second then. Um, how has your last week been?
Okay. Let's go back to last weekend. Me and a couple of mates for one of their 40th decided to climb the second highest mountain in, I think, Lancashire or Yorkshire. Um, Little to no prep. It was a lovely weekend away. Um, Felt a little bit with Nail and I at times, but it was still good. Um, so after that, obviously my legs have been hurting for about a week since that. But it's a good achievement, felt good. Felt good to get outside, felt good to have a chat with some good friends. My week is always structured a bit oddly. I sort of run my own business. My wife came on board a year ago, but then she's got sort of a portfolio career, let's say, as well. So she is a yoga teacher and also gone back to teaching 1 day a week. Um, and so our it's kind of our business from talk like that is a lifestyle business. We've got two very young kids, got a dog. Um, I don't want to sort of like end up, scaling this up or being anything massive. I'm very content and happy with where it is at the moment. That said, I think anyone watching this who has a business can understand it's not been the best time in the last 18 months. Indecision, delaying things. It's been really, really challenging, but we move. And I'm in a good place at the moment. So it's been a pretty good week. Got out to a couple of events, which always is good. Really sort of like fills my cup and sort of feel very good and happy getting out, like seeing people I've seen on the Suffolk East Anglia kind of like circuit for a little while. And yeah, what else has gone on? Trying to lose a little bit of weight, a little bit of that dad bod. So I had signed up to someone to help me with that. A coach, not carrying on with them because it costs money, because it costs a bit of money. But I'm taking some of those things forward. So walking more, a little bit of meal prep, that kind of stuff. Is this the kind of stuff? I'm sort of like diarising my week. Yeah, it's been good. And then, my wife went up to see her mum-in-law at the weekend. No, sorry, midweek. So that was 1 day, and then she's off now after finishing teaching for 4 days. It's now Friday. She's off till very late Monday. Gone to Portugal with some friends, which is lovely, which is great. Very, very happy about that. Me dealing with two kids that are 4 and 6 will be fun. Trying to plan some things around it. But it kind of puts work in perspective sometimes with stuff like that. Yeah, and then I guess the work stuff business is doing good at the moment. It's a big area of stress for me. For us, we're in it together. It's not just me and my wife. It's everything, isn't it? Like you need to big money in to keep the keep the mortgage paid, pay the bills, food. God, they're eating so much at the moment, and then you end up binning loads of it. Vet fees, car rent. It's just life. But I think when you've got a salary, yeah, you might not be happy, but at least you've got that continuous stuff coming through. That feels a very throwaway comment, but there are benefits to both sort of like sides of things. And
Yeah,
I think at the moment, me having a flexible uh, working arrangement business is good. I can drop the kids off at a certain time. I can go to football with my son on a Wednesday afternoon, or get taken swimming, or all those like little bits. But there's like a payoff to that. There's no one sort of like perfect world where you just do one thing and it's like, oh, life sorted, the Instagram reality. So yeah, busy week, always is a busy week. Got some fun things planned with the kids, things to look forward to. Um, yeah, pretty good at the moment.
Good. I can hard relate on the the challenges of having more freedom, but also no reliable income. I've just been, going through that. So my kids are older than yours. I've got a 15 and a 13-year-old, and
Different challenges.
different challenges, but flexibility of the business means that I've been able to become the head coach for my youngest's football team. So I picked that up as of this summer, which is
Are you a Ferguson? Are you a Mourinho? Are you a
I'm a
Klopp?
vibes guy.
Okay.
Don't come to me for tactical advice on the football field, uh, but it's my job to make sure that the kids are having fun.
Excellent.
So that we are Division 5, so you need to treat the team accordingly. I think, like, as long as they've got a smile on their face, I'm happy. Um, but yeah, it's been tough for us as well. Work over the last 6 to 9 months, in particular, has been much quieter. I just got a money back from HMRC, which
Hey.
is hugely appreciated at this stage. Yeah, I could really do with things turning around. But it's like you say, you can either do the kind of the approach to work, which means that you can have more choice over how you spend your time, or you have the guaranteed income and you have to compromise and give up some of the things that you might really want to do. And
And it's never A or B, right? It's sort of like, and I know you're not saying this, but you know, oh, can you have a call? Like the big client wants you to have a call. Can't really say no, or we need to edit this thing, or there's a quick thing you got to do, and then you can't do the football training or go shopping or go for that run that we really need to help your headspace. And I think that's when the flexibility argument comes into it. But also, you know, people who work full time have PAYE have that as well. There's elements of that as well.
yeah, yeah, it's the balancing act is definitely a challenge. So
But when you're on, just really quickly on that, when it's easier for me to say sort of with bipolar, or if it's not that, it's something similar and it will come through. But when I'm like, it's not manic, I'm not in a manic phase now, but I'm like, I'm good, me. I'm like, yeah, like I'm on this. I've made a list. I'm working through stuff. I'm in a great chat with you. I know I'm going to do something later. I can spin like plates. It's fine. But when I'm not, and one of those things happens, the call comes in or the piece of work has been dropped or something like that, that's when I find it really tough because then you can quite easily get knocked down quite quickly because you haven't got that foundational um, base of like feeling good.
yeah, so control then is your sense of control is a big determinant of
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Yeah. Which and control and routine, which routine special. I thought I'd never be a routine person,
yeah,
um, but I think it just helps with, as we've just said, so many things going on. Um, I'm not playing the violin. Everyone has. It's just part of modern life, right? But you can, yeah, I can like compartmentalize things better and not take offense at that quick email or, you know, not worry that I haven't done this piece of work to the most amazing like nth degree. And it's like, well, they've paid me half the price. So actually it's got done to a good degree. It
yeah,
doesn't need any more time spent on it. Um, yeah, all those kind of like things mix in.
yeah, yeah. I feel like you and I would probably offset each other's relative peaks and troughs in energy quite nicely. I think it would be quite challenging if we both got onto a call and both of us were like, oh, but what I can relate to a lot of what you're saying. Like, it doesn't the points at which you feel on top of things are great because you're just not thinking about the other stuff or the
Or
things.
overthinking things.
Yeah. But then it only takes like one or two things to kind of start to create a bit of a wobble.
Yeah.
And yeah, and from that point, it's anyone's guess how
Yeah.
long it takes you to kind of get back on track again.
And it can be like an afternoon,
Mm.
can be a week. And that's not a week of feeling exactly the same low crap, like not talking about it. Or it can be like as I've had earlier this year, like months. And it's just and you may have that like once in your life. You may never have it in your life. Um, yeah, it's just interesting how the brain works.
Well, as somebody once said to me, the mind is an arse. And I quite like that. I think
Yeah,
that sums it up
that's fair.
pretty perfectly. Um, so let's go back to your relationship with your mental health. You've outlined very sort of top level some of the kind of the aspects of the journey that you've been on right at the start. But could you kind of talk me through what that's been like going on that
Yeah,
journey, particularly as you kind of get up to the point where I guess you have the diagnosis of bipolar disorder, um, and how that feels even. Um,
yeah. It's really weird. So I have it's definitely a brain protecting thing, and I can sort of hear my sister and my wife sort of say the same thing to me. I have like a not blackout, but I self protect. I protect my own brain from traumatic things by pretty much forgetting about them, or they're buried deep until I have that hypnotherapy that I kind of would love to do at some point, but maybe not right now. I'm too busy. But so I hide stuff in my brain. So I can't remember having really low periods when I was a lot younger. When I say that, like probably 20s onwards, not maybe not teens, although I'm sure my sister would correct me on that because she's does remember a lot more than me. Um, I yeah, so self-preservation mode. So I don't remember as much as some other people would. Now that means that let's go back. If I just walk through, so had that job and had that big sort of like breakdown essentially at whatever 23, 24, maybe a bit older. Um, all self-imposed pressure. If you want to go even further into stuff like, it could be I did very well at school and then I finished school and there was no kind of like A's to get. Maybe it's some stuff from childhood, nothing horrible, but all that stuff builds up. I remember my dad taking me at that point and pretty much dragging me out of bed, taking me to he wasn't that harsh, he was a very nice man, taking me to the doctors because he didn't know he had no idea what to do. And went to the GP, can't remember too much about it, but was put on either citalopram or sertraline, and yeah, sort of went on from there. End up again like life got better and it was okay after a period, and moved down to London and got a job, and then got another job, and met my wife during that point. And there's lots of positive things. Well, life wasn't just one whole big chunk of depression. Um, excuse me. But when it did come, it was usually pretty hard hitting because I didn't have the tools to catch myself feeling a little bit more negative. So something would happen at work, and I'd be like, "Oh God, everyone's looking at me." Paranoia creeps in, and then before you know it, you're in bed for like a week or longer, because you just did not want to deal with it. I remember one really clear instance when I was working for an agency in Cambridge, went down to a London client. I knew the client really well. There was no real issue with the meeting we were going to have. It was just another progression thing. I really enjoyed working on it. Got down there. We had a Costa coffee or something over the road. We're walking over to where this HQ was. And I just stopped by the traffic lights. And I was like, I was feeling a bit like anxious and stuff for weeks before. So I just can't I can't do this. I'm really sorry, Sophie. And she was amazing and just like, get the train home, let me know when you get back and stuff, and don't worry about it. Um, Sort of mixing up lots of like different times here, but a massive sort of impact on my life. So I had sort of these challenges before, and it was called dysthemia. I was diagnosed as, which is persistent sort of depressive syndrome or something like that. So it's not, there's no huge highs, but it's just when you do get the lows are like bombing. Um, I had a psychiatrist, very lucky to be privileged in a position where um, my like uncle, who's a doctor, knew somebody and was able to get in quite quickly, and privileged to have the money to pay for said things with my family. So that was diagnosed. Um, strap in, everybody. In 2017, my both my folks unfortunately passed away. So dad was a carer for my mum who had some health conditions. He unfortunately got cancer very quickly. So it was a very rare form of kidney cancer, and it was April diagnosis, and June he passed away. So it was very, very quick. So work were amazing, and they wanted me to take time off, and I'm very thankful to them. Always will be people there. Mum was in different care homes, and then by I think November, I think or December 2017, she'd passed away. So that took me quite a long time. I didn't have a family at that point. I was married. Then like the kids came along like soon after that, and yeah, a whole big maelstrom of feelings and things with my sort of condition, whatever it is underneath that. Um, and it has been amazing times with my sort of like young family growing up, and it's been sort of very sad times with things. Also early this year, I was um, on a lad's dad's holiday to June, and our last sort of like relative, my nan, wasn't too well, but I went away and a couple of drinks in, let's say, down by the pool with the boys and in Mallorca, and then got a call, and unfortunately my nan wasn't too well. I couldn't really get back, or she should pass before I made it back. And then that was another sort of like kicking reminder, grief wise and things. Um, I mean, it is a huge story, and I'm telling this, and I'm in a good place, so it's okay. But my mum, my dad, and my nan's sort of like grief, family is really important to me as it is to everyone. And I think that everyone unfortunately will have those things when they get older, usually. Like, maybe the grandkids and I know everyone's like my nan, she was 97, bless her, great innings. But those kind of things are still, and they will still affect me at time to time, but I'm in a really good place right now. Whereas earlier on this year after Nans, that kind of kicked me back into a very, very low place. And my business carried on, and my life carried on. I shut off seeing a lot of friends, which is a big thing that I do when I go sort of myself. Don't reply to WhatsApps, don't reach out, delete Instagram, get rid of like everything. Don't engage, really, head in the sand. But the thing I'm sort of like trying to say is like, God, they were like really hard, big life events, and we will all go through those. But it wasn't necessarily just those that were the um trigger. There was other things. Like, it wasn't like I'm at a point now where I know I can look after myself, and exercise helps. I know exercise helps. I know eating well helps. I know going to bed on time helps. But when you're in that sort of low time, you just don't care. I think it's apathy, sort of like there's not even a feeling towards something being on TV, or like the food you're eating,
Just
or
numb.
yeah, absolutely. And I think that is something that I think a lot of people will resonate with, whatever form of mental health challenges they may have. Um, but also like that's okay, and you can come through it, and you will come through it. Um, so this is my tale is not a hugely happy one at parts. So the one
Don't
I
need to
described, when
apologize.
I just heard me explain those things, it's important to explain for context, but it's quite a lot.
It is a lot, and I mean, it's completely, I mean, you don't need to hear this from me, but it's completely understandable as well how derailing all of those experiences are. Like you said, they're major life experiences.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and they are not. I think what's really important for somebody to take from what you've just described is that those experiences are, they're obviously a catalyst for some very strong emotions, but that those experiences happened in the context of condition
Yeah,
that you have as well.
yeah, yeah. And it might not necessarily be like that experience. I mean, those experiences are 2017, massive, like huge, and I'm still working out in various ways sort of what that means, how to deal with it, all that kind of stuff. Because it's so massive. But that thing doesn't necessarily have to be as big as that. That thing can be,
Yeah.
it's so bad to say because I'm not comparing these, but like a bad email, or like you get spoken to in a meeting and it can be like that's the like the trigger for the start of a few things. And then not that you'll slide and slide forever, but like if you can just catch bits of that, and okay, we're all happy and low at different points. That's absolutely normal. But it's just the getting very low can be quite, it can take longer to get out of. But also, if you have to get there, if that has to happen, my body was just like, this is this is what we're going to do now. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like there was no control over, which is also okay. Um, yeah,
I was going to ask about that. This cycle, because I recognize that that cycle in my own head now. I kidded myself in the early stages that when I was feeling really, really crap, that at some point it would all get better and then that would be that. And obviously that's complete bollocks. You and I both know that, and everybody watching this knows that as well. That actually it's not so much that it's cyclical, more that rather than having like the peaks and the troughs, there's this sort of central band here.
Mhm.
And my aim is now to try and stay in that, within that fluctuation more often
Yeah,
than not, rather than aiming for that, and
yeah.
to kind of
Uh,
dispel the chance
And
that
I
that.
think that's that perception thing of like, Instagram, even LinkedIn with the business side of stuff, like, or just life, how people talk. Sometimes you meet some knobs that just give it all that and it's a bit over the top. But like, I think the perception of life is that we should either be like, you know, earning millions on a yacht in Dubai, and this is how I did it using drop shipping versus like, versus like, I don't know, like getting kicked out of the house and having all your belongings removed and like thrown, like bad example there, but like none of that is real. This is like life. And me being, I know, I'll get up now and I'll go and like take the bin out and the bin will rip and it will spill all over the floor. And like if I'm in a better place, I'll be like, and like, do a silly post on social about it or something and then like tidy it up. But that could also be something if I'm not in a great place that is like the worst thing ever, like like everything's going wrong. And I think I don't think it's ever going to be solved. Maybe it will be solved, but like I think it stems from that like, God, we're getting deep. From Friday morning, what is life kind of thing, right? Okay, life might be that for that 20-year-old that's going off to Dubai and doing that, they've chucked that all on credit cards. You look behind the camera, that's 20 of their mates doing the same shots. So they're splitting it up. So it's not a one thing. Or it's not even Dubai and it's a green screen. I like it's it's all part of like the game, right? And the game is just life. That's it. You just kind of get through, and then maybe you get like a nicer thing. Maybe you treat yourself and buy a nice like t-shirt kind of thing. And yeah, I don't know. Slight rant at the drop shippers of the world. Apologies, drop shippers. You're doing a fantastic job. But like the shortcuts to success and like what success is, and because haven't got like school to kind of give us those parameters, or like university, or maybe a job at points, promotion, not promotion, whatever. Like you kind of, yeah, what is good? Well, it can be anything we want because we've got the whole world at our fingertips and we can do, you can do anything you want. No, you can't, because like I'm really tired. I've got two kids, and the 4-year-old's in bed with me this morning. Like today is not going to go well. It's that kind of more realistic look at stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. You said something that I'd like to kind of dig into a bit more,
Sure.
because it's a thing, it's a situation, it's a situation I found myself in, and I've not known what to do, and I'm sure others will be in this position as well. So you mentioned earlier that when you're not in a great space, you withdraw. You don't tend to respond to stuff.
Mm,
You come off socials.
yeah.
Um, Now, I have a tendency to do that myself, but I also know at least three people who are men who are struggling with mental health issues who do exactly the same thing. As a person that does that yourself, what's useful for your friends to do when they see that happening?
Mm, yeah. Really, really good point. It's really difficult. I'll give you a tangible example. So the boys that I went to, the 40 to 50-year-old men that went to Mallorca this year, it's a breakaway. Some of us have businesses, some of us don't, some of us have a lot of kids, some have one, some have none. Like it's just a bit of a catch up. And it was really good. Missed it last year. Anyway, all this stuff happened with the call from the carer and then nanny and then me trying to get a flight back and they didn't know what to do. I've known these boys for like 25, 28 years, like some of them like really good mates, right? We've been through a lot. And they didn't know what to do. They didn't know what to say. And like when I was in a low place after my funeral and that all that sort of stuff and grief place, in my head, I was like, why aren't they reaching out to me? Why are they not asking me how I am? And if they'd have asked me how I am, I would have ignored it anyway, but that's not
Yeah,
the point. Um, but now we're like looking to plan the next year's one. And because it's a lads chat, like it's all taking the mickey and like not about the nanny stuff at all. That's it's not. But like for example, I got the wrong bus on the way there because I booked flights separately and I got the wrong bus on the transfer from the airport. So make sure you get the right transfer ad and all this kind of stuff. But because we haven't really like caught up properly in the way the world works, you don't. I wasn't able to like properly explain to them how like my summer was and like how I feel and it wasn't me ignoring them and like all that kind of stuff. And they were just like, always here for you. Just like messages, just like help out. And I was like, sometimes I don't want to. A lot of the time, I don't want to. So using that as a kind of like real life example, what advice would I give to them or to anyone else sort of like wanting to get in touch with someone? It's like that ask twice thing, right? So like ask and don't think, well, I've asked, like I'll give them a month kind of thing. Oh, they've not read the two ticks, blue ticks thing. No, just message again. Do a voice note. Just call. Like, um, they'll tell you to piss off if it's annoying. Um, but then again, thinking how I was, if 5, 10 people that I knew did that, that'd be hugely overwhelming.
yeah,
So just letting them know that you're like here for them, have a chat if you want. I'll give you another try in a week. Something that gives it a little bit of like a time
yeah, yeah,
limit, or not time limit, like frames it. And you know, but then again, everyone's different. So it could work that you want someone to come knock on the door with a couple of possibly non-alcoholic beers, because I'm very into those at the moment, and like have a chat. There is no way on earth that would have gone down well because the door would have opened. I've been like, well, I wouldn't go out of bed to answer the door, but the door would open. I'd be like, oh, I'm just really not feeling it. It'd been really awkward, and then like gone away, tail between their legs, and thinking they couldn't help. I think it's really, really tricky. I don't know what you think. If you've got any like advice, if you've done it, because like, one, everyone's different, and two, you kind of, from my experience of it, I can't get through that really low point until I want to get through that really low point.
Yeah. I guess the from my experience, sometimes you don't know what you need until you've had it.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I've become quite good at realizing when I'm not right, but I couldn't tell you what I need to do to fix it. And I what you're saying about, you know, I'll start the fight back when I'm ready to start the fight back. That absolutely resonates with me. And sometimes that's because I don't realize that I need to start the fight back.
Yeah, absolutely. But and if someone can like just like not turbo start, but just like give you that little nudge and make it okay, maybe now's the time,
Yeah,
would really help. But I can't when I really go into myself, I don't answer any social media stuff. I think the whole world is going on around me and I'm not into it. Now, social media can be good, it can be bad, but like even things like WhatsApp, like where it's communications and things like that, it can be easier to write something down rather than call or see someone in person.
yeah. I mean, I think technology works both ways, doesn't it? Sometimes it can be incredibly overwhelming. You can feel like it's an obligation. But I think I like the idea that you mentioned earlier, voice notes. I think voice notes are brilliant
Yeah.
because you can make them as short or as long as you want to. Somebody can listen to that and you can make it abundantly clear when you're leaving that voice note that that person doesn't need to reply to you.
Yeah, yeah. Without, yeah, because anything you write down, you lose such a lot of intonation and inference and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
But I think a voice note, don't keep hounding them. You know, if
Mm,
they're not answering for a reason.
yeah,
Um, but I think sometimes just knowing, right? And you've been through these kind of cycles enough now to know some of the things that you can do to reduce the chances of you entering a lower period, right? You've talked about your diet, sleep, exercise, right? So if if I know that a friend of mine is doing those things and still feels shit,
mm,
that's when I might be more inclined to kind of push a bit harder
yeah,
because I know that they're already trying, but it's for whatever reason right now it's not working. If I know that a friend of mine was doing all of those things and has completely stopped, that's when I'm worried. That's when
yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, I really I need to know that you're okay. But
It's really tough because if you've got, you know, I'm very lucky to have like a loving wife that understands it and gets it and has been with me and I've always been very open about it. So that's a very different thing than becoming stressed, anxious, whatever later on down the line. That's a separate thing. But whether or not they've got a partner or a really close friend they always speak to or a family member or something like that, sometimes just asking that way around could help. So friends have come sort of to my wife and asked how I am, and they usually do because they're like, "No, I've mad in a while. Is he all right?" Kind of thing,
yeah,
um, which works in some circumstances. But I mean, it's just opening up the wider conversation. It's not about making it like taboo, you know. We've come so far in the last like 5, 10 years.
yeah. And this is an extreme example, I guess, and it's not exactly the same context, but 4 years ago, I lost a friend. He was in his late 20s. Lost him suddenly, and I didn't really know his wife at all. And I spent a long time thinking about what I could possibly say to her,
Absolutely.
and I came to the conclusion I couldn't work out what to say. And I was talking
Yeah.
to a mate of mine about it, and he said, "Well, you've got two ways to think about this. Um, would you rather that you said the wrong thing but said something, or would you prefer to say nothing at all just because you might say the wrong thing
Yeah.
when somebody could need you?" I said, "Okay, that's the decision's been made. And from that point onwards, I've always adopted that view that if you don't know what to say, it's still better to try and say something than nothing at all. Because that person doesn't know what they need to hear necessarily until they hear. So yeah, that would be my sort of broad principle of communicating with somebody in that situation.
Crikey, we've gone. It's a full-on topic anyway, but yeah.
We've gone deep. I feel like my voice has gone deeper as well. So question number 4 is the light bulb moments. Now, for context on this one of the light bulb moments for me in my experience was CBT, and sitting with with my therapist to explain CBT and walk me through something, and I was like, wow, that made a huge impact on me. It's not something I actively practice every day, but I do now realize from that experience that I have more agency over things and situations than perhaps I had given myself the kind of visibility and credit for previously. So that has affected how I think about this stuff. So for you, what have been the kind of moments where you suddenly learned something that you've realized is really helpful, or you've learned something that's really unhelpful that other people might benefit from hearing?
So the helpful, I'm not going to do it justice because I can't remember the exact framework or the name of the type of counselling and therapy that I'd had, but it's basically all about your perceptions of things. It's a famous one where there's like a diagram of what you sort of like see or hear coming into your senses. That's like the external like voice. Then everything that comes through, this can be on a good time or a bad time, everything comes through, and then you've got these like sort of filters that it goes through. So your brain will kind of look through, okay, have we seen this before? Is this something we've, encountered? But then also the emotional bit comes into it. Whereas if you're in a low place, yes, we have encountered it and it wasn't great, but the negative thing will be like, that was awful. It's the worst thing. It's like, do you know what this is like? Is what's the Disney film or Pixar?
Oh, I know the one you
The,
mean.
with the little characters,
Yeah.
Inside Out,
Yes,
Inside
that's
Out. Now we watch that with our kids, and it's really funny and like, but like that is so true. Like all those like emotions, and I guess the cost of okay, Inside Out will be one, and then this kind of like framework of like how you see things, and it's just your perceptions. That's all it is. Your brain is just looking back in that library and going through the archive and going, blah, 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 blah. But like if you're in a better place, you're looking through and going, oh yeah, well that is a negative one, but it wasn't that big, so that's fine. Like don't worry about it. Like it's sort of how big you wear things is a phrase Sarah, my therapist, has said to me on a number of occasions. Don't go all the time. Probably should when I'm better, and I am going when I'm better because I think that's an important thing. To not just go when you need it.
yeah,
It's keep up continuously. You don't have to go every week, every month, but like keep it up as another thing. Yeah, it's how big you wear things, and I wear things big.
yeah,
Like something will happen, email, and I will take that on, and that's a huge thing. Whereas obviously, if you're in a better place, it's like you brush off. It's like it's nothing. So sort of how asking yourself how big you want to wear this is quite a good thing to do when you're in a okay place, because then you can, if that's something you kind of like build in asking, as we would if you build in, I don't know, SEO work or hashtags or what's the audience for this, that kind of thing. Yeah, how big do I want to wear this now? Have I got enough time to really ruminate on this and like, make it a bigger thing? Yeah, I guess
yeah,
that'd be it.
yeah. To be able to have the thing I've always struggled with things like that is having the uh, clarity of mind,
Yeah.
not just to recognize that that's something you need to think about, but to actually be able to say, okay, this is really not a big deal, when you feel like it's a massive
Yeah.
big deal. So you're talking yourself sort of back.
It's kind of like that process. I'm absolutely massacring this amazing process they've created. But like, there's almost like that filter here. Like the stuff comes in, and it's like your mood maybe is there, so it comes through. So like, if you can at least realize that's your mood, so what you're actually seeing is not actually what's happening. It's like, I mean, this is all therapy and all kind of like CBT and everything, right? It's how you manage it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So we're on to question 5. And this is not you talking as an expert. This is talking as somebody who's been through this series of experiences and has learned things along the way. Somebody comes to you and they find themselves in a similar position. What is the most important thing that they can do?
I think talk probably, which can be really difficult, but find that one person or place, whether it's an online chat with some charity or something that's a anonymity, um, a WhatsApp, to a mate, a voice note, to a partner, to a friend, someone at work, somebody you don't really know too well, but you feel like they'd understand. Very easy for me to say now, as like a professional communicator that like does this literally for a living. You know, do as I say, not as I do. Is such a, again, another cliche, but I don't do that. I won't want to talk to my wife who knows me inside out, right? That's, I don't want to have that conversation. But I think if you're if you're feeling like that, talk. But the important thing is to maybe start talking about stuff now. So, oh, it's never happened to me. Oh, it happened years ago. Oh, it's not going to happen to me again. Whatever the situation is, having those conversations, like with my group of dads, like I know one of them has had challenge in the past and I've been spoken to him separately before. But when we're in a group situation, maybe we won't talk about it so much. So there are always people in like your friendship group or circle or anything like that that are have experience of this, if not them, a friend, and starting early doors conversations just wider about mental health, I think it's a good thing in general, because then when it comes to a talk, you'll know who your person kind of is.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. Adam, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with so much openness and clarity today. You've mentioned that you think you're rambling a couple of times during this conversation. That's not how it comes across
Thank you.
as recipient of that at all. It comes
Can
through.
we do a comedy one like next time, just to like really balance up the it's
Yeah,
important. It's very, very important to talk about, but I do feel it's yeah, black t-shirt as well. And
we can do that. But you're going to be the script writer because I can't deliver the comedy blows. So if you want to write it, I'll be there for it. Awesome. So he says, "Oh, this is the only time I've needed to clear my throat throughout. Excuse me." And the sign off begins. Thank you to everybody for joining us for this conversation as well. If you haven't already, if you could like, subscribe, share, do all the social things wherever you're seeing this content, that'd be massively appreciated. These conversations work when people are pointing them directly to people that need to see them. So if you know somebody that's going through something similar to what we've talked about today, and you think it would be useful for them to see this chat, please just send them a link to this, because that's what this is all about. This is actually the final episode of season 2 of Good Enough Chats. It's going to be coming back again in the new year, just as soon as we get another batch of people who want to come forward and talk about their experiences. So if that's you, or if there's somebody else that you know, please don't hesitate to point them in our direction. We would love to hear from them so that we can start arranging getting those recordings in the new year. Otherwise, Adam, if somebody has heard this and they would like to contact you at all, is it okay for them to do so?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Always open to a chat.
Awesome, thank you. I'll put Adam's LinkedIn profile in the description of the video so you can fast track to him there, should you wish to do so. Thanks again, Adam. Really, really appreciate this conversation. And
Pleasure, mate. Me too. Thanks for inviting me.
my pleasure. And we will be back again soon with another episode of Good Enough Chats. Thank you.